7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, and here we are on the eve of the day when our world changed forever. So, just real quick, because of the topics, the guests, there's always a possibility they could just nuke everything. Make sure to go to risetoliberty.com/links, and that will pull up everywhere that we are. There's actually some really cool stuff coming down the pipeline I've been working on. So make sure that you can find us other places. Odyssey, DLive, for the moment anyways. Telegram, that's the main places for now. So let's just jump right into it. Got a couple of really special guests. Of course, Adam Fitzgerald. And somebody wanting to stop Jonestown kooks. How you doing, gentlemen?
Hey, Jacob. How you doing, pal? I'm doing just fine.
Good to hear. Before we dive into this, I just wanted to tell you guys something. Thank you so much for doing this. You guys are obviously an authority on this topic, and I highly respect that, which is just great to have you both on my show on this day. But I wanted to point out that all of that work was not in vain, because I see how you guys inspire people to continue digging in this. And I know you guys I've heard both of you say how exhausting it is trying to get people to care about this. But you guys are doing very important work, and it's a great honor to have both of you on.
Oh, no, listen, thank you very much, Jacob. Yeah, it's a headache for the both of us. Ryan's been at it a lot longer than I have. He's got a longer headache than mine, but it's the sacrifice is worth it. I love, you got to love what you're doing, but boy, is it stressful sometimes. Dealing with, listen, if it wasn't for like Jonestown and Christopher Bolin, stuff like that, it would be an easier road. But these people make it harder. So no, but the sacrifice worth it. We get young men like you that have an interest in it, and it's well worth it. So thank you for the adulation.
Yeah, of course.
I saw Richard Gage ran away from you, Adam.
Yeah, I wanted to stay away from that, so this way he couldn't say I'm picking on him.
I'll pick on him.
There was a conference I was supposed to be on, and he came on and basically didn't want to be on the same stream as me, and basically was demanding the host say pick whoever you want to deal with, and I made it easier and I bowed out. But I came back on later because Gage has a conference, 2-day conference actually, today and tomorrow, and he had to leave. So, but I mean, look, I'm not trying to reach him, right? So we're trying to reach, someone like yourself, Brian, myself, and Nelson and others that are trying to reach the audience behind the person. I'm not trying to reach Richard Gage because he's in it for some other reason than the truth. But the people that listen to him are just victims, and that's the people we're trying to reach. That's why I wanted him to stay, because I knew that he was going to bring a big audience behind him. So, and I was talking about stuff that, they never heard of before, which, was surprising to me, but I guess it's not. So
they've never heard of hardly anything because all he does is give a loose change version of the 9/11. So, I mean, he says that's not, but in his first slideshows he ever did, he's using clips from loose change. It's obsession with physics and Building 7. They don't get into who did it or why.
Right.
Nothing. They didn't even get the physics part right either.
Hey, listen, I was this is about a month or two ago. This is another good one. And he was doing a live stream when his channel was up on YouTube. So he basically was taking questions. And so I asked a question. I said, Mr. Gage, without hijack, because he was talking about hijackers, and he invited, Davon Kleist from that film In Plain Sight. That guy. So anyway, I asked a question. I said, Mr. Gage, if there are no hijackers and there are no hijacked planes, and you dismiss and the operations involving domestic and foreign security doesn't exist. And his response was to me, he says, the truth movement, speaking about the truth, talk about arrogant. He says the truth movement doesn't pertain to hijackers whatsoever. I thought that was an astonishing statement. That's unbelievable.
He might be the top kook now with Alex out of the way.
Oh yeah, I would say he's number one. Yeah, because there's a lot of people gone. So the only people left, I think, from that circle is him and Barbara Honegger
and Burmis.
And who's that?
Jason Burmis still saying the same old BS. Right.
Yeah, but he does it like he'll bring it up once in a while. But yeah, Gage and Honegger are the consistent. But you know the story with Burmis. I mean, we tried to get him multiple times to talk with us. Doesn't want to do it. I mean, he was on, what was it, Reed Coverdale show? He actually said, hey, listen, would you debate Ryan Dawson? Would you debate Adam or Nelson? And he says, yeah, I'll debate anybody.
No, you won't.
Yeah. It's not so much about the debate issue, Jacob. It's it's basically trying to reach, like I said, trying to reach the audience, trying to get them.
Those guys need to get punked in real time so that people will stop barking up the wrong tree and following a cult leader.
True.
Ryan, you had said something in one of your Telegram chats the other day. You'll debate with anyone because it's not about the debate. It's not about the sport of the debate. It's to get to the truth. It's the whole point.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the point is to find out what's right, not who's right. But a lot of these grifters, Richard Gage said to Josh Blakeney, like, he doesn't talk about the Israelis because it's bad for the brand. Huh. Right? It's a brand in his head. It's just something to grift on.
Well, I imagine it's pretty lucrative, right? To sell all these books and these movies.
It is if you're in the Jonestown theater, because, Alex Jones was reaching millions of people. And so you could say just about anything. I could say this potato chip came from outer space. And if a million people saw it, somebody's going to buy it, But it's definitely not lucrative to tell the truth because you'll get banned on everything. Like as soon as, if you don't have a following, they may leave you alone. But if you have like 20,000 or more followers and they notice you, you'll be gone. And they don't care if you have 100,000, 700,000, whatever. You will not be allowed on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or any of that. And of course, I'm banned on everything. But if you say something kooky, you'll get millions of views because the algorithm is turned up on the asinine and turned off on the sensible. And now we're starting to get a little peek as to why, with Mark Zuckerberg admitting to Joe Rogan that the FBI comes and tells him to cancel stories. They told him the Hunter laptop was Russian disinfo, and they knew that it wasn't true. They'd had it since December of 2019, and it's obvious that it's authentic and Hunter's all over it. They didn't deep fake hundreds of movies of Hunter Biden with hookers and crack and so on. Now, but that's what they did. They said, suppress this story, and they do that all the time. But I also think when somebody says something utterly ridiculous about 9/11, they're like, disseminate that. They are in the business of disinfo. They try to say they're stopping disinfo. That's bull. They promote it. What they stop are people telling the truth, like the New York Post did, like I did, Kelly McEnany did. Anybody, Scott Ritter and Pepe Escobar got banned for telling the truth about Ukraine and the Bucha massacre. And pick something. If you're accurate, you're gone, and probably nobody's ever heard of you. You'd have to get your name out there before, I'd say, like 2008. Because from then on, it's gotten real bad. And it got worse after 2016. And it got real bad in 2019 because, or 2020, I'd say, because of the COVID stuff, they started banning everybody. And look, they're right. The CDC agrees. And all those people were still banned anyway. We don't have a free press. We don't have free social media either. And the FBI even spied on antiwar.com because Justin Raimondo, the chief editor there, the most clicked on journalist there too, wrote about how Dominic Suter, the owner of Urban Moving Systems, was an official 9/11 suspect. And the FBI was mad. And you read the documents, they didn't know how he figured that out. And they were worried about what else he would figure out. Like, why are you protecting 9/11 suspects? But our own government was doing that. Spied on antiwar.com. And what he did is, they redacted all the suspect lists, but they had passed on the same list to different countries. And in other languages, it was not censored. So you could just go get the whole thing. I did it. I got the list from Argentina. I think Justin got one from Italy. And he spoke Italian too. So, there they are. There's Dominic Suter right next to a lot of prominent names. And there were some people on that list that got exonerated. But it's like pretty hard to get on a 9/11 suspects list without, doing something. At least coincidental, right? And he had a bunch of employees working for a moving company who were spying on Arabs for something. That's what they admit. But like, oh yeah, but it wasn't 9/11. Right. You just have maps of Darkened Tower and you're out there celebrating. There's even a photo that was sent it was 8:39 and 8:31 where they 8:39, 8:40, excuse me, where they passed in front of the building and go behind it, that they sent to Langley to get analyzed. But it doesn't say what the photo is. It's just of the vehicle. But it's the Urban Moving System van. What else could it be? And that's prior to the first plane hitting. And there's other witnesses. Like the Gray Zone wrote this report, and it hinges completely on this woman named Maria Septimelli. Her last name meant September. That's one of the spooky things, like we might live in a simulation. But she's the witness who called the cops on these guys and witnessed them hugging and flicking lighters and high-fiving and all. But she didn't call until her husband got home. And so they get pulled over. But she is not the earliest witness, and she's not the only witness. And we know that because we have the FBI files from the FOIA request. But they hinge the whole story on her. Like she saw it like basically before or just as the plane hit, because she looked out the window because someone said, aren't you over there? Like called her immediately. She's like right around 8:46 to 9, you could say. But that is not the earliest witness. And it bothers me a great deal when journalists from the Gray Zone, who get pretty deep into other things in Ukraine, Syria, whatever, I think they spent like half a day on 9/11. We're like, yep, debunked. And that's just sad, like David Sheen. And I know why. It's because there are so many charlatans and kook that talk about this same subject and anti-Semites, like for real. And I know people just throw that out at anybody that criticizes Zionists, but I'm anti-Zionist too. But there are definitely people that just hate Israel because they hate Jews and say whatever about the anti-Israelis, and it gives it all a bad name. But I'm like, well, we have the files and we can walk through them, and it doesn't just hinge on that. They all 5 have different stories and timelines from one another. Omari breaks down crying in jail and starts spilling the beans, and they're visibly celebrating a plane crash, minimal, which is, what are you, a bunch of psychopaths? A plane just ran into a building and all those people died. You just think that's awesome? Like, what's the matter with you? They knew what America was about to do. They knew the plan. But then you find out, there are teams from Jerusalem that had done illegal work on the fire suppression systems in the buildings. We have the Miami field office flagging the Newark office, saying that this moving company had given a 9/11 hijacker a ride. That's logistical support between Florida and New York. And ad nauseum, we can go over all the evidence. The thing is, the basic 9/11 research or whatever has never heard of any of this. And if they've heard of the Israeli story, all they know is like 5 guys dancing. It was 3, and they were celebrating. They don't know that they don't know the story. And the people debunking it also don't know what the story is and don't know what they're debunking, because they're also just reacting to kooks. There's a fellow yesterday on Killstream and Ralph Report. His name is Ramsey Paul. Been on the show a couple times for other reasons. smart guy, and I agree with 80% of what he was saying, but he was just like reacting to the people that think there's bombs on every floor or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that either. But that's what people think we think. And that's not Adam and I's perspective whatsoever. We're just looking at, hey, look, I've got strong speculation about a lot of things, but the stuff that's dead to rights is there was 100% financial and logistical support for 9/11 hijackers by the Saudis. The CIA knew about it, didn't do anything. The NSA knew about it and didn't do anything. And Israeli security forces and Czech forces erroneously linked the anthrax attack to Iraq, who had nothing to do with it. So those crimes alone are enough to make heads roll and people get fired. And that doesn't even add all the other things. But you don't need to add a bunch of other stuff. That's enough. Colin Powell went to the UN with a mock vial of anthrax based on those deceptions. And we did go to war with Iraq based on WMDs that they did not have. The Israelis lied to us. The Saudis always lied. Well, they both always lie to us. But the Saudi liaison to these hijackers is Bandar Bush. It ultimately goes up to Princess Haifa and Bandar. A couple of intermediaries that are the most famous, I guess, Omar Mayumi and Osama Basnan. And this is in the Senate report, right? The JIS report is much better than the 9/11 Commission report, in my opinion. And we've got 9/11 victims' families suing for information that we already have. That's how far in our own end zone are. 21 years after 9/11, and people are still arguing about whether or not there were airplanes. You know, like the day after 9/11, people knew there were airplanes. Now they don't even know if there's airplanes. Like we went in the negative numbers. That's how bad it got.
It was a regress of sorts, almost.
Yes, it's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's regression, exactly. And we have the half planers. And Rogan said they shot down 93. I wish I could get hold of him. People around him have tried, but it's like, well, who am I? You know, guy in Japan, like, because all my social media is gone, so I can't point to, well, this. Like, when you don't have numbers and stuff behind your name, you lose a lot of street cred and credibility.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't. I mean, if someone's right, they're right, you know. Adam's right. He doesn't have a big social media following, but almost the exact same information I'm doing. I got out early and got in when you could still do social media, and then I got banned on all of it. But, you know, if I had 250,000 people on my channel and then approached Rogan, that would go a lot further than, 20K or 8K or whatever hell I have now. I think I have 20 on BitChute, like 9 on Odyssey. That sucks. I used to have more than that live, and now that's like the total amount. Yeah, it's hard to get on shows when you're not on Twitter. I can't go on with Tim Pool or any of these people because if you're not on Twitter or Discord, you're invisible because that's where these people live. They don't do email anymore. They don't even know how to get you on a show. Like, you had to add my Skype, right, Jacob? Like, I'm like, oh, you need to reach me? You got to add Skype.
I mean, until I signed back in, the last time I had signed in was like 6 years ago. So,
yeah.
I mean,
well, it used to be all there
apparently
was.
Skype is based. Who knew? Skype
is based out of Estonia. Microsoft bought it, but they don't have a way of like. It's not like social media. It's just a phone, basically. But
yeah,
you
so
can
it's
keep
more of a
contacts on there.
utility.
Right. I think they're all
sense.
utilities, but yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask both of you guys, ever since the United States government has instituted like the TSA and everything, do you guys feel safer?
No.
I don't fly unless I'm getting an emergency seat. Yeah, I barely flew. Last time I flew was 7 years ago. And,
I can't imagine a plane flight at 6'10".
Yeah, I get the emergency seat. If I can't get that, it's a problem. I'll get an aisle seat try to stick one leg out and try to fold like an accordion. But yeah, it's a problem. As for being safe, I mean, no matter what, you're not going to be safe. Even if you're in air, I'm constantly always aware. Like I'll never drink on a plane. I'll never drink on a train. I'm always trying to be, not paranoid, but aware. I like being alert and stuff like that. So I don't like being, loopy in regards to where I'm at with a lot of people, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid of terrorists. I feel unsafe in that they're going to mess it up and I'll have to buy another ticket. I'm afraid of the utter incompetence of the airlines and going, oh, you need this. Last March, I go to DC. I go to the anti-APAC conference. I'm on my way back, and I went to called. I said, I'm going to get the test at the airport because I don't trust these other people. This PCR test I needed at the time. And I said, I'm going to Japan. Is this going to work? Is this the test I need? Yeah. Well, it's an airport. Do flights all the time. Okay. Because, it's a special test. Japan's like real strict about this. Yeah. And I'm like, I want to ask another person because I can tell this is just some diversity hire that doesn't know what they're doing. But I don't have a choice. I get the test. I go to San Francisco. I go to get my connection flight. Nope. That's the wrong test. It's been happening a lot, they tell me. I go, if it's been happening a lot, don't you think you ought to communicate to DC that, they've got employees telling people the wrong information? No, and, so I was either going to have to spend the night in the airport in San Francisco. But what I got on my Telegram, and somebody happened to be watching at the time that lived in San Francisco. So I went to some stranger's house. I mean, I'm not a stranger to him, but he's a stranger to me. Yeah, he knows, hey, Ryan, how's it going? Because he sees me online all the time. I'm like, I don't know you, dude, but I don't want to sleep in the airport. Well, you end up talking politics till 2 a.m. anyway, but I get some sleep, takes me back, and then I get my flight. Next flight, the Texas, they screw up. Like, a woman put me in a flight to Newark. I'm supposed to come back to Japan. Japan's a day ahead in time zones, right? And they messed around with my connection flights because I would have had to get like a cab and go to JFK in New York and then fly all the way to Tokyo and then down to Osaka. These people at an airport did not know that Osaka was also in Japan, the second biggest city. And they put me on some flight and they go, you're going to get there the exact same time you were, except you don't have to have this connection. I go, how is that possible? If they wanted me to go to San Francisco and then fly and I don't get there till 1 a.m. and it's 17 hours behind or whatever, I'm like, what am I going back in time? By the time I got to New Jersey, I got that flipped and all, but I ended up getting home 2 days late because they just screwed up trying to make it better. And I had to bribe the TSA to let me cut in line. I was going to miss everything because when I originally went up there, they didn't have my boarding passes because they had canceled it and bumped it up an hour. It's fucking hell. And that's what I don't feel safe about. I'm like, well, I have a ticket. And when you're doing an international flight, man, you're talking like $3,000. And it's, whoa, if I mess this up, I got to pay again, or they're going to put me on a later flight and I won't get home for another day. And I got 3 kids waiting for me. And so everything's falling apart. No one can do their freaking job. And it's definitely gotten worse. I've been in Japan almost 14 years. And I fly back and forth all the time. I can tell you it's visibly, demonstrably worse than it's ever been, especially since Biden took office. It's just utter trash. No one knows what they're doing. And this security theater with the Rappy scan and all, and there's a story there with Chertoff Group and L3 Communication and all that. Another video I had done that got taken off of YouTube. They were $51 million in the hole. Then they get this contract for these machines, which are made mandatory, and all the major airports have to get them. They don't work. Every test where they have white hats try to purposely get stuff through, they get it through. So they don't even stop you from bringing weapons or anything. It's just theater. And the reason they don't work is that the employees are all incompetent. because they're going like thousands of people a day. None of them have weapons. So after a while, they don't even look, right? They just, yeah. They randomly pull people out for a show. It doesn't work. It's a huge waste of money, but it makes the line so much longer. Like, why do you have to take off your shoes? Because of the shoe bomber? Well, you know that story too. But like, all right, you have to take off your shoes. I don't have to take off my shoes in Japan to go to America, but I have to take them off to get back, right? It's just cedar, but then you have to wait for every idiot to take their shoes on and off. And it makes the line longer and longer. You got to get there 3 hours early for an international flight, or you can forget it because of security. And then you go to any other country, basically anywhere else besides the US or Israel. I can get in and out of security in 2 minutes. Go up, put your stuff. It's like the 1980s. You just put your stuff on, go through metal detector, get on the plane. Not taking your liquids away. You don't take your shoes off. Or not. It just, part of it's people are smarter. I mean, there are people that are like saying to everybody, put all your items on the rack or whatever, bag here, laptop out, and they're just derp. Oh, I have to put. Do I have to put my phone in there? Do I have to put all? All means all items, and it's just god damn, and that's why we should not have legalized weed.
You're going to make a lot of people angry with that statement.
Every time. It's like picking on Bitcoin people. You really hit the hornet's nest where you're like, I don't think people should smoke so much pot. I think, to be honest, I don't care if someone does drugs. I hope you overdose on crack. If you're a crackhead, the best thing you could do is have too much and just remove yourself from the gene pool. But pot, like alcohol, depends on the person. Some people, no problem. Some people should never drink and never smoke, and others can handle it.
Yeah, I can't. It makes me slow and not focused. I just can't. But I also have a really good friend who smokes a little bit, but he's also going to law school, so I don't understand.
Yeah, Scott Horton all the time, and he still remembers everything and stuff, but that is atypical. And I wonder what he could do if he didn't smoke weed. He might be the new Ted Kaczynski. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's some people that drink and they're fine, and even drink daily and they're fine. But obviously, we all know people that shouldn't even have a drop. They become a completely different person. Like Nancy Pelosi. Her speech, and I want to bomb from tanks.
Knock somebody out with those things.
But you bring up an interesting point before I wanted to follow on, if I can, Jacob or Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
You talk about numbers with people and how they don't follow or respect people with numbers. And that's very much true, because I'm under 2,000 followers on Twitter. And, I try to reach out to certain people to get them to talk about this subject. And, it's like, I'm invisible and stuff like that.
Yeah, they look, they see a small number.
Yeah, right. But that's actually true. I mean, that's really true. And
that's what happens.
Right.
And I worked my ass off to get the numbers, and then they just knock it back to zero. I mean, I was deleted off YouTube 5 times, and then 8 times if you include all the backup channels they deleted, which you should, I suppose. And yeah, it's really hard to build back up again without an on-ramp. Like, if you don't have Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or Patreon or PayPal or YouTube or Vimeo and all this stuff, how are you supposed to build up social media? How are you supposed to build up your Odyssey or your BitChute or whatever if you don't have any of the swimming pools where all the fish are? Or all the pools, they're not swimming pools if there's fish, huh? Like, I feel like Twitter is fish in a swimming pool. Like, they don't know. That stuff is just gonna rot you,
Well, I'll tell you right now, I have Twitter, and they'll artificially suppress you if they want to. So they've got that algorithm.
There's a lot of fake things. People with 300,000 followers and their engagement's like 30 people. It's just fake.
They mark my posts as misinformation, every single one.
Yeah, so no one sees it.
And I don't post anything closely, remotely resembling. It's all files and documents. And,
He's doing like screenshots from the JS report or the Pent Bomb report, and they're like, "This is fake. Like, this is for our own FBI and our own Senate, dickweed."
Fake news.
I can't win. Like, what should I do? Should I do like you bring up that point before? Should I just go the kook route and make some money from it? I don't know.
Find some other conspiracy that you don't mind. Like, find something you don't mind pretending to be retarded about. Like, say the moon landing's fake or something, and just start posting all that garbage, and that'll build you up an audience because they love it when you say something retarded. And then pull a switcheroo and be like, "Psych, I never believed that, but here's what I think on 9/11."
Right, but the sacrifice will come as like, oh, we can't trust this guy because he flip flops. That's all.
Whatever. Just say ahead of time, I'm going to pretend to be a moon kook. Like we said it on the show, right? And then go do it.
But now you could see like all those people, like the Roths and the Bolins and all these people who once were so prominent years ago, and because they don't bring anything new, now they're defunct. And I've heard from Adam Green. I watched that Green interview you did with him the other day. That I didn't know this. That Green thinks that Bolin has retired, and I was wondering where Bolin went. He just seemingly disappeared. But this is what happens when you don't bring anything.
Well, Michael Collins Piper passed away, so he had nobody to plagiarize anymore. And I called him out. So what's he going to do? He doesn't have his own material, so that's it.
Well, that's a problem. But like
you gotta tell everybody a missile hit Building 6, and like, man, I don't think he even believes that. He's just like, I have to come up with something new because for their cult, it's all conspiratainment, like just the adrenaline of it. Like, oh yeah, they want to hear Alex just lose his mind over something. The Queen Elizabeth, rah, rah, rah. I'm sure he's talking about that now, right? Anything to avoid Israel. So okay,
well,
he'll
call him anything but.
Right. Well, yeah, he's been through. I did a list. Yeah, the elite, the Luciferians, the globalists, the NWO, the Bavarians, Freemasons.
Vague term.
Yeah.
All these vague terms.
Right.
He's a hell of an actor. I'll give him that.
The deep state. Yeah. The character Alex Jones. He said in his trial.
But
you got that right.
Yeah, with all these people basically out of the way, it's like now we could take advantage after all these years and basically get our voice heard. And I think that's happening slowly. I think so. I've been getting some attention now. I mean, I'm almost at 3,000. Well, I'm 2,500 on YouTube. I'm crawling, but I'm getting there. But with all these people out the way, like we're finally saying, all right, now we can breathe. And,
did you post our interview like on the first one we did? On the 9/11 dry run on your YouTube? I feel like since we stuck to Saudi Arabia that you could.
Ryan,
you couldn't.
You know why? I had to put all your videos on private because I got the second strike. And by the way, the one video you didn't curse is the one video where I got the strike.
Yeah, well, they don't give you strikes for cursing. They just demonetize.
No, it's actually bullying. That's the strike I got for.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, first of all, it wasn't even a bad video. And I don't understand why, because you've done a lot more egregious videos regarding.
I think Richard Gage and them go out and flag videos and say it's bullying them.
Yeah, who said the same thing? I was talking with Nelson and those guys, and they basically said they were not surprised. I bet you it's like Gage and.
When I did a video saying Sandy Hook was real, they said I bullied them. Like I bullied the school shooter deniers. I'm like, no. I mean, what you said is ridiculous, and I don't know how to not make you look dumb. You are dumb. You're not looking dumb. You're dumb. They go out and flag stuff.
How do you go about responding? That's the thing, right? If you're a total if you're a Judy Woodard, for example, and you basically have a conversation with them about, how the towers collapsed, and they basically go on about space beams and stuff, you're like, yeah, hey, wait a minute, man. It's like now you're testing the waters here.
The direct energy weapon.
Right. They're some of the most fanatic people on all the 9/11 spectrum.
Well, I know, and they will gang up in the comments, and they make groups, and they all flag your video to try to get you removed.
It's like Scientology almost. I mean, those people. It's just unbelievable.
At least Scientology is against the prescription drug market. I'll give them that.
I mean, it makes
Hail,
sense from a business
was it
level.
Hail Tom Cruise? Is that how good?
Yeah, I remember when he gave that. What was it on Oprah? I think he said that.
Well, he gave Matt Lauer a dressing down right before
That's right.
Matt Lauer got caught with, pulling his dick out in front of his employees and stuff. I don't have my bell here for Lauer, but these people, they're so degenerate, and these are the people that give you the news.
Yeah.
And they made Tom look like a kook, but everything he said was right at that, about prescription drugs.
See, even the kooks are half like a broken clock is right twice a day. I mean, so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Fucking
even
throw that
sometimes,
clock away.
right? But sometimes even Bolin will say something right because I don't disagree with him about everything either. I mean,
No, the stuff he grabbed from Piper is pretty good. It's like,
I caught on late, but you said something with Green the other day, and I said, yeah, I agree with Ryan here. Is that Bolin will say something politically right about Israel,
yeah,
and all of a sudden come completely out of nowhere and say something so ridiculous about something relating to Israel and 9/11, and I'm like, something's not right with him. It's like he says something right and then goes off the rails. It's almost like. And this is my own paranoia saying, so it's speculation. Like, I think this guy basically wants to take reputable researchers and put them in the kook movement in the public eye and basically say, hey, they're all, anybody who talks about Israel regarding this site, even it's rational information, they're all kooks. That's what I think. Bowling.
Or they hate Jews or something.
Yeah, anti-Semitic.
Yeah, I saw. Okay, I'll tell you something that adds to that. And you guys probably witnessed this happen. I've been talking about Jeffrey Epstein since 2007. It picked up a lot of steam when he got rearrested, and then thanks, and then he gets killed or hangs himself, whatever you think. The kook movement comes in and says Epstein's still alive and he's living in Israel. And you see what they did? They said something ridiculous because we have his corpse, right? And they buried him next to his parents, so he's definitely not alive. His brother did a second autopsy, on what? A body double. Then they say he's in Israel. So they want to combine the relationship between Epstein and Israel, which is real, with the he didn't really die crap. So that the people talking about Jeffrey Epstein in Israel look like, oh, you're one of those people that thinks he's alive. And I also noticed even with COVID, like the virus deniers, you can't get a lab leak theory if you don't even believe viruses are real at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're also harsh on Israel. And I'm thinking, how can you be so stupid on A, B, C, D, E, and then, and you don't like the state of Israel? Like they want to make the critics of that state look, retarded.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to put it. If virus denier, you're retarded. It's the same people that thought 5G was causing COVID or was deadly radiation when they don't know what a light spectrum is. Microwaves and infrared and that side are less harmful than visible light. Like the light bulb in my room is more dangerous than my Wi-Fi or my remote for my TV or 5G on my phone. But they just hear the word radiation and their brain turns off. And it bothers me deeply. There's also the flat earthers, and our general public could not pass fourth grade science from, say, 1989. But now they're going all the way up to the college level, and they don't know what light spectrums are, and they don't know how to prove the earth is round. They don't know, like, what ought to happen when a plane hits a wall. Like, no wonder they think there's 72 genders and all this other nonsense.
Well,
Science is dead.
You've seen those videos where, men out on the street asking just basic
questions. Name 3 countries. They can't do it. When Nietzsche said God is dead, I'm going to say right now, science is dead. And Netflix and TV and stuff killed it.
Knowledge is dead. Porn killed it. Fast food. Copious
porn
amounts
and video
of fast
games
food
drove
and
the internet, but I don't know what it is, man. Everybody I know, everyone I've ever met, even the dumbest kid in my class, whatever, would be able to name all 50 states, easily say 3. Like the man in the street, they'd get every question right. I've never met anybody that dumb in my life, and I don't know how they find them. Of course, I didn't live in California. I think it's drugs. I think they did learn that in school, and they already forgot.
Either that, or they're inundated with like the most trivial and non-relevant aspects of daily life.
Yeah, but how could you not name a country that starts with U? How could you not name a country, or just 3 countries besides the United States? You can say Canada, Mexico, China, whatever, right? And there are people like, they say, what's 3 times 3 times 3? And they're like, 36? Unbelievable. My 4-year-old can do that.
I think it's a perfect set of media to be able to make a commercial for government high school diplomas.
Right, but
Those people are so stupid. I thought, are they acting? Did you just get them and say, hey, pretend this so I can get a viral video off your stupidity? Like, I'm thinking those kind of conspiracies, like, nah, nobody's that dumb. And I went and did a little of it myself, and I was like, wow, what? Why am I sitting here explaining the nuances of like plasma filaments and stuff when people can't tell you where Canada is?
Wild.
But you see it every day with 9/11. I mean, look at all the theories that are propositioned just on that one subject. I mean, it's a fascinating psychological read. Like, I can't believe there are people who actually think that there were agents in the World Trade Center dumping mannequins and saying those are the jumpers. But believe it or not, Bill Jahan of Let's Roll Forums actually says this.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I heard Lauren, what's her face? She was like some fake nuclear scientist. Told a bunch of people in Japan at a dinner meeting that they flew over the crash site of Flight 93 and were throwing plane parts out the door.
I never heard that one before. Well, hey, listen. If you just don't believe in the simple, which is hijacked planes crashed, anything else is up for grabs. I mean, you can make whatever you want up. And that's
a lot of it's not their own words, though. You notice them, like it's a repeat of Jonestown talking points. So, like, no building never fell from fire.
Right.
Rumsfeld said there was a missing $2.3 trillion. And what's another one they do? Like, I hear him all the time. Like, oh, I saw this video where a plane wing seems to disappear. I'm like, shut up right there.
Yeah, and it always
Larry Silverstein said, pull it. That's definitely Alex Jones. Alex Jones every day is like, pull it's an industry term for demolish a building. Blah.
I think that's the most popular.
The whole context is there'd already been so much loss of life already, meaning all the firemen that had died in World Trade Center 1 and 2, that we made the decision to pull. And so we pulled it. And we pulled out and watched the building burn down. It's not an industry term for demolition. They pulled out of fighting the fire because so many firemen had already died. The building was beyond saving. The whole southwest corner was missing. Every floor was on fire, and they decided just pull out, let it burn. It's gone.
You'll get a kick out of this, Ryan, because you actually talk about this. I think you did talk about this on the Green's interview, and this is one of my favorites. Is that the Israeli art student ring in the World Trade Center, right, with all the BB boxes,
the gelatin bee. Yeah.
Like I always tell people, like, you think you think for 1 second that there's going to be a cameraman taking pictures of them placing bombs in the World Trade Center? You're doing this all wrong. I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't want their faces in a book that's posted nationwide.
Yeah, but Adam, there's a box with numbers on it.
Yeah, Little Fuse 88. That's the
website.
Well,
look, here's a box with numbers on it, like every box has. It's called a mail code. Goodness
gracious! Right. I'm fascinated by the creativity by it, and I'm always amazed. Like, do you really think that this is how this works? Like, they'll just allow themselves to be photographed while wiring up the World Trade Center? I mean, my God, I never.
And then like an entire year in advance.
Right, exactly.
Well, and how is
or even from like the 70s?
How is nobody walking out with anything to prove that they were hired to do this or something?
Well, what's funny is there was a team of guys who were caught doing illegal work in the World Trade Centers, dated September 5th of 2001, who said they were working on the fire prevention systems for this company, Denko Mechanical, who got caught faking fire suppression credentials, reference letters, and so on. It was a fake company. Couldn't explain why they're really there. They all went to jail for 10 years. And we got their photographs and names, and no one in the 9/11 movement knows anything about it. They were not putting bombs on every floor, but if they had purposely sabotaged the sprinkler systems, and that would have maximized the fire from the plane. And that's all you need. Fire can burn down buildings, believe it or not. And they're just like, nope, jet fuel will not melt a steel beam, but a burning building can. I can't light a log on fire with a match, but if I light some paper and stuff first, then I can burn the log.
Right, but you bring up an interesting.
A normal office fire with no jet fuel is hot enough to weaken steel to the point where it loses 80% of its tensile strength, and that means collapse.
Not U.S. steel.
Oh right, yes, any steel.
But you already bring up a great conspiracy point that they tend to dismiss, and that's the Catherine Smith link with the Moroccans and Israelis that had fake ID.
Right, Khalid al-Dala, and
exactly. And that
Moshe Fairs.
That's right. So that's a conspiracy they could be talking about, but no, they would rather talk about the physics of the World Trade. So that's fine.
It's bad. It's bad for the brand. It's bad for the brand. Yeah. Exactly. No, it's a major thing. Catherine Smith was murdered the day before the trial. These guys were in custody. The second ringleader got a $250,000 bail. What kind of truck driver gets a $250,000 bail? That guy, he did. Who paid it? No one cares. They don't care where the paper trail goes. So that's it's just me and Adam talking about it. And I dug that story up. I dug up the story in Al Jarrah and his blood relations to Israeli spies against Hezbollah too. And it's like, yeah, I'm a government shill because I don't say there's a bomb on every floor made of nanothermite and flying unicorns or whatever.
That was always my favorite, the thermite paint that they rolled onto the steel beams.
We don't use thermite in buildings we're going to blow up on purpose for a reason. It's not reliable. Shape charges is what you use to blow up a building. And and I ain't saying they did, but if you were going to plant bombs, you would use shape charges. Something like RDX would be something that plausibly you could sneak in a building or whatever. That's not what happened. There is some evidence of a truck bomb in the basement because police did report, and it was reported live, that they found a van with explosives. And that's, you can think of that what you may. But that report just disappeared after that. And there were other vans. The George Washington Bridge incident supposedly had enough explosives to blow up a bridge. Doesn't mean that's what the target was. And then, of course, the most infamous dancing Israelis, when they got pulled over, which was in the middle of the day, it's like 3:06, I think, something like that. They had traces of explosives, according to the bomb sniffing dogs. Which, I don't know what else. Why would you have explosives ever in your car that you got rid of? What was that about? But all these stories, it all hits dead ends because everything about it is just pages and pages of white redacted information. So it's like, well, we don't know anything about this, but we know they're certainly talking about it for a long time. That's all you can know. They're hiding something. But it doesn't matter. It's like we have enough evidence with or without the truck stuff showing financial and logistical support. And we know that, come on, the CIA followed a couple of the hijackers to an Al-Qaeda summit meeting. And then later they're going to flight schools openly using their real names, and you couldn't figure out they're about to use an airplane in a terrorist attack. Please.
That's an interesting point. Adam, you've been releasing some killer videos past couple of days leading up to the anniversary. One of them that I absolutely loved was the signs of an impending attack. Do you want to give a quick like elevator pitch regarding that video?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've have on for this the documented record regarding the intelligence apparatus, domestic anyway, NSA, CIA, about Bin Laden's satellite phone, which they monitored since 1992, and a house in Yemen since 1996. And we're talking 5-6 years prior to the events of 9/11. You know, stuff like this. And they're listening to the phone calls every day of these people. And, you know, unlike Americans and everybody else talking about trivial objects, what do you think these people are talking about? You know, the serious men. Anyway, so what I'm trying to get at in that video is basically trying, and other videos I make too. In fact, one thread I made on Twitter, which is gaining a lot of traction because I linked the CIA and the NSA in it, as well as Michael Hayden and Ali Soufan and Thomas Drake and everybody and their mother, NBC and everybody. So I'm trying to show that, hey, listen, you know, we're up on the anniversary. Stop talking about buildings and start getting with the intelligence apparatuses. And I also involved Saudi Arabia, Israel. They were here in the United States, involving their rings, involving with hijackers living in cities like Florida, New York, and stuff like that. The attention needs to be here. That's the only thing I'm trying to get across in that video. Attention needs to be here, nowhere else.
Right.
You know, the smoking gun is not World Trade Center 7. I don't talk about physics because I am less than a layman. You don't need to talk to me. There's other people that are more qualified to speak on that. But I have done a little bit of reading about the CIA, the NSA, and the foreign intelligence apparatuses regarding pre-intelligence for 9/11. And hey, you want names? Well, there's plenty of freaking names here. Code for Black, George Tenet, Michael Hayden, Barbara McNamara, Clark Shannon. I could go on and on and on.
Richard Blee.
Richard Blee, Michael Shoy. Yeah, who are these people? Good question. Let's talk about those people. Roy Barak, Modi Butbul, Dominic Sitter. Who are they? Good question. Let's talk about those people. But no, if you're going to be talking about vague terms like, hey, did you know a third building fell? Hey, did you know that there was thermite in building 7? Did you know that 1 and 2 came down by unnatural collapse? Well, I want names, and you can't go to court with just claims and vague statements. And this is the reason why you don't see Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry in the Southern District of New York. They're still fighting to be heard. They're not even in court. You know who's in court? Motley Rice, Creedley and Creedler, the people representing the victims' families trying to sue the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. But when it comes to Israel, we can't go that far. You know, you can't do that. But I always believe that if you could get to Saudi Arabia, that you can get to Israel, because probably what they'll do is, if you implicate them for sure with evidence, they'll say, well, you know, we're not going down alone. And
I've also said, if we can get Saudi Arabia, just take the W. That's a win just on its own, even if you don't get Israel.
I agree. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. But you know what? We need the public to get invested in this again. I mean, like you said before with Alex Jones and all this stuff, all the crap that he talks about, dominated the airways and basically shut all this information out. And so we're trying our best, you know, you being banned and me with my minuscule followers, but you know, we are trying with the effort that we have. And it's not that we're being arrogant or, you know, petulant and anal regarding how we go about the information, but it is frustrating when you have people like, you know, certain people like Gage and Honegger, who basically have a large audience and they're propagating these theories ad nauseum, creating future generations of disinformed people. It's just it's a killer. It's a killer.
I get a little hostile from dealing with these kooks for so long, but it's because I feel like I'm running out of time. I don't want to be doing this shit when I'm 60. You know, like, how long do I have to wait for them to step aside before the real information can come out? You know, and I've moved on. I covered the Syrian conflict. I covered the Iraq conflict. I'm covering the Ukraine conflict. I covered the Epstein ring. The 9/11 was a thing I did. Kind of visited every, you know, twice a year or something. But, you know, there's plenty of crazy things going on in the world, but we wouldn't have had a war in Iraq if not for the anthrax attack in September 11th.
True.
And there wouldn't have been in Syria or Libya. Like, none of that was Pearl's plan. You know, they always give you the Wesley Clark went upstairs and said, we got 7 countries going to bomb. Well, who do you think's writing that? There's been for policy.
That's true.
They created the Office of Special Plans. There's a lot to talk about that bleeds right into the war in Iraq, which was unjust and based on lies, based on deception. We got plenty of names for that too. We can rattle off the list of names for that too. No one paid a consequence for these things. And it's because Jones sucks all the air out of the room. And people who kind of privately think, yeah, I agree with you, Rye, whatever, they don't want to stick their neck out because no one wants to be associated with that loudmouth hothead that's talking about earthquake machines and microwaving $20 bills to get rid of the RFID chips hidden inside the Clockwork Elves or whatever. You know, like
buy my vitamins.
Right, no, but
it's tangy tangerine.
Yeah, that's right. But that's like he's alluding to the much bigger picture of all this. Is that all this is a pretext? Like 9/11 is just a pretext for the foreign policy guidelines of the past, and it's written by who? Well, it's written by neoconservatives and conservatives of the federal government and foreign governments.
Yeah, same people that had Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein in their policy papers a month before 9/11. And even talked about how he might have anthrax. They knew they were setting this up.
And took advantage of it.
And the anthrax goes back into the gain of function research, which relates to COVID-19, you know, and our whole biowarfare departments out of Dugway, Utah, and Fort Detrick, Maryland, and Ames, Iowa. Because gain of function is just a fancy term for weaponization. They never talked to Philip Zachariah or Miriam Ripley or any of the people involved caught on camera stealing anthrax spores from a top secret security lab, top clearance, excuse me. They just blamed it on, you know, Bruce Ivins and Stephen Hatfield. And Hatfield won a £5 million settlement. Like nearly $6 million. And you know, I'm like, okay, and then Ivins never had a trial. He was killed himself or got suicided before there was a trial. Case closed. And after he's dead, he's exonerated because he physically could have not added these accelerants to the anthrax with the equipment stuff that he had. So are they going to find out who did it? Nope. No. Just shut up about that story. Move along. So it's just like Epstein when he got arrested, nobody would report it. And even the reporters that had the story knew about the Clintons and everything. They were told, nah, the royal family is going to make us lose access to Kate and Harry or whoever the hell it was, William. I don't know the princes. I don't care. I know the ones that got in trouble, though. Prince Andrew saying he doesn't sweat.
You know, and one thing about the anthrax case is that, you know, talk about trying to not look for suspects. The FBI is actually ordered to destroy the archives at Ames, Iowa.
Yeah, during the middle of the investigation, they physically destroyed
the whole archive.
I talked to Francis Boyle about that. I mean, he wrote the Biological Anti-Terrorism Act and for the Reagan administration and stuff. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, why is this guy talking to me? That's how desperate they are to get someone to cover this story. Because I used to have a pretty big, you know, like a libertarian channel, whatever. But still, I mean, shouldn't he be telling this to Fox News or something? You know, but like, no, because no one is going to take that story.
That's right. No one's going to take it. God forbid we start telling the truth around here.
And the one we did still got censored. So
I remember that.
Yeah. I had to go dig it up. There's a clip of it in a film I made called War by Deception, but I had like the whole hour-and-a-half interview, and that's lost in the ether because they deleted my YouTube in 2008, and then they deleted it again in 2018. I got it back, and then twice in 19, I got it back, and then final one was 2021 in January, whatever. But some groups like Alt Censored were downloading all my videos, but every video that was before 2008, which was a lot because that's before I had any children, which included Francis Boyle and a lot of great stuff on 9/11. They're all gone and gone forever. Sucks.
Yeah. That blows. I can't even imagine what that's like.
Dude, imagine making like 5,000 videos and they're just gone. You can watch me age on my channel. And Yeah, it's just gone.
So, I mean, one thing I have been curious about, like, this is it's like such a huge operation that's been going on for so long. Is the truth from one person, two people that they could just suppress really that dangerous?
I think they're afraid because it only takes one person. You know, look at what Tony Bobulinski got on Tucker Carlson and told the truth about the laptops, right? That's all you need. That's where it starts. Boom, it's over after that, right? You know, Virginia Giuffre got out of the Epstein ring and started spilling the beans. And I mean, that whole thing was only like 3 people willing to really go forward, not get intimidated or take the money, etc. Yeah, it's really just one person can make a really big difference. I guarantee you, if I was allowed to talk on mass media for like 6 minutes, I could straighten out a whole bunch of stuff. It's never going to happen. If I was on a show the size of Joe Rogan and got to go over September 11th or Epstein or the Civil War or whatever, like I would change the minds of millions. Because everything we're saying is verifiable. We don't rely on kooky speculation and stuff.
That's right. And that's the difference. That's the reason why we're not on mass media. That's why.
Right. And I guarantee you, as soon as Adam's channels get big enough, they'll just erase them.
I'm almost there.
You know, and it makes you be like, why should I put into effort? But now, because of free market solutions, there is Odyssey and Rumble. I just accepted Cozy TV, and I know some of the other people on there are, you know, quite different. But hey, they also got banned for one reason or another, and I believe in free speech. And hey, whatever gets me eyeballs, man. So Cozy TV, Rumble, and Odyssey and BitChute. BitChute doesn't do live, but they archive stuff. They've been a godsend because, and Gab too. There are places where you won't get censored. The problem is the eyeballs just aren't there yet. But when I was getting censored back in 05 and 08, there was nowhere else to go. And that was super frustrating because you couldn't just go put it on the other thing. There was nothing.
Yeah, Odyssey I like, actually. So I use that platform. I've never tried Rumble, and BitChute I tried for a little bit, but you have to pay, I guess, for extra putting extra playlists up at the time. I don't know how it is now, but I gave up on that. I do try with YouTube. It's still the most popular, and I know that the regulations on there are draconian, I think. But yeah, I mean, in time, that's going to be, it's going to get worse and worse on there. And they're just going to drive their customers over to the competition, which is the point. I'm hoping that's the case.
Well, that's why they're trying to copy TikTok right now and make everyone do shorts.
Yeah, I won't go on TikTok for moral reasons.
Yeah, that is pure brain rot. I'm on there. So, well, it's not me. Someone just clips my stuff. And I'm like, go ahead, do that if you want to. I already got banned on TikTok in like 24 hours. I got banned on Instagram in like 5 seconds. Made an account on the phone I had when I went to America last month, and it was like, and you're gone. Okay.
Ridiculous.
You got to send in your photo, like holding the thing, and they saw who I was, and just nope, not that guy.
It's almost you're like red flagged everywhere. It's just
they have a list like when they ban people. There's like a red zone, orange zone. Like a YouTube employee told me this, and I'm dark red at the top. Like don't let this guy make a channel ever. Because it wasn't just 9/11. It's like I get into all their stuff, and yeah, they don't like me. They've tried to ruin me financially. They got rid of my Patreon and my PayPal and my Venmo. Like I'm not allowed to use any like payment processor. But now there's new ones like Power Chat and stuff like and Entropy. Thank goodness. It's like 15% you have to give to the company, but I'm like it's better than zero, better than 100%.
I mean, as long as they don't ban you, I guess 15% would be fair.
Take it, because they got to grow and compete with PayPal, and lots of people have been banned from PayPal. They banned Consortium News, like Robert Perry's outfit. I mean, he's passed away, but
really,
yeah, but like guys like Joe Loria and stuff who worked at the UN, and he's banned from PayPal. And part of me wanted to be like, hey guys, remember when I got banned from PayPal and none of you said anything? I just want to be like, how's it feel? But I didn't. I'm like, that sucks. I will cover your story about you getting banned from PayPal, even though you didn't cover when I got banned from it. But it always starts with, the canary. And then they get, okay, we're going to ban. Then they're going to ban, like, white nationalists or whatever. No one gives a shit, right? I'm like, well, no. Because then they can just call someone a white nationalist who isn't one and ban them too. It's a pretext.
Mm-hmm.
Then they start banning anti-war activists, libertarians. Then they just started banning conservatives. I said, you watch. They're going to say Trump's a Nazi, whatever, and now you're all white supremacists, even though they definitely aren't. And they just start banning conservatives. Then they start banning anybody that had anything to say about the coronavirus. And now they're even starting to ban the liberal anti-war left, whatever is left of it. And then they start banning Consortium News, and they start banning like Scott Ritter, people like that. And just basically anybody that goes against the state on anywhere on the spectrum is now getting banned. And it's that old adage, is like, they came after X and I said nothing. Then they came after Y. I was like, well, I was X. And almost no one said anything.
It always pisses me off when everyone was like, oh, Alex Jones was the first one to get banned.
Not even.
Really?
Yeah. No.
No. A lot of people got banned before him, blanket ban, and they didn't get to go on TV and whine about it. Like, they banned this guy, Andrew Tate. Do you know Andrew Tate? Anything about him?
He's one of these. What you've posted on your channel.
Yeah, he's just like manosphere guy, but he started talking about Ukraine. He started talking about the election. He started talking about COVID. Then he gets blanket banned. It's like, I don't think it was his comments about women, which weren't bad, by the way. Like, they just cherry picked the worst things he'd ever said. And it had nothing to do with that. They didn't like a guy. He's a world champion kickboxer, a millionaire. He owns casinos, his own businesses, and he was inspiring a lot of young men. But that's not why he got banned. He got banned because somebody with that size an audience started saying they rigged the election, and that, I was in Sweden partying for 3 months or whatever it was with Rona, and nothing happened. Sweden never closed down the whole time, and they're fine. So it just shows this whole thing was a panic. He's saying stuff like that and making sense to all these people. He built his audience up talking about men's issues. And there's nothing wrong with talking about men's issues. I'll say that right now. But that's what he built it up on. Then he starts saying, he did the swerve. He said what I was saying about the moon stuff. They could not have a guy with that big a voice telling all these young people the truth or planting seeds of doubt. So they blanket banned him. He lost all his social media, and he was the biggest thing. Like, you could not go on these platforms without seeing an Andrew Tate something or another. On Shorts, on TikTok, YouTube, he was everywhere. Instagram. And now he's nowhere. There's just copies of him. And I'm sure that probably costs tens of millions of dollars. Because he's up there. He I don't know how wealthy he is, probably in 300 million or so. And I bet he just lost tens of millions of dollars with not having a social presence anymore. It's nothing you can replicate or sell because the brand depends so much on him. And so they just stole that from him. And it's like, yeah, well, we already know the FBI comes in and tells these people to censor stories. But as far left as they are, I think they're just not, they're not like being forced to do that. They're like working with them, like, yeah, okay, which one now, boss? These bootlickers. Censorship has to die. I had a shirt on yesterday that said "Make speech free again." Andrew Torba of Gab. They asked him, like, Tim Pool had all these executives on. I got this story from DJ Cogdell, by the way. But Tim Pool's got all these executives on from Getter, Rumble, Parler, Gab, whatever. And they're asking them their terms of service and, like, who will they ban? What will it take? You know what Andrew did? He had a rolled up constitution that he put on the desk, and he said, "That's my terms of service." The Bill of Rights, basically. Like, if you're not breaking the law, you can say it. It is based. Yep. He got a new book out on Christian nationalism. Haven't read it, but it's selling pretty well right here.
I talked to what is his name? Ali Alexander, and talked to him on Clubhouse one night. That was the most frustrating conversation I think I've ever had with anybody ever.
Really?
That man got me angry very, very quickly. I definitely question the integrity of the most free and fair election we've ever had, but after listening to him for a minute, I was like, I don't know. If he's the head of the opposition, that sounds maybe it was legit.
Well, I mean, Biden didn't even campaign. He just sat there. Like, this guy beat Hillary, okay? And Biden's not even worried. He just sits in his basement. And Trump's going around and getting all these crowds. They're like, don't worry, it's in the bag. Don't worry, the mail-in votes will come, All these swing states at 3 a.m, suddenly go for Biden. They're still counting weeks later. It was very suspicious.
You know what pisses me
But you
off
weren't even
about
allowed to question it.
Well, of course not, because it was their side. But what pisses me off about that is the reason we can't order machine guns through the mail anymore is because it was corruptible. Yet they want us to vote through the mail now.
Well, there's no paper trail if you vote through the mail. Once it's open, you can't tell where the vote came from. So what's to stop you from just mailing yourself votes and saying, yeah, it came from there? And then you only have one party counting the votes. The other party's not even allowed to observe. But what happened is it got kookified. Trump trusted the QAnon morons like Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood. And we know what a kook Lynn Wood is. Even Kyle Rittenhouse threw him under the bus, right? The people are saying there's a shootout in a server farm in Germany and all this nonsense. 99% of the election fraud claims are just kook nonsense. But even without the mail-in votes, because that's just shows how you could steal it. Doesn't mean you did, but it means it'd be very easy to do. The fact that they suppressed all these stories about the laptops and his relationships with Ukraine and Russia and everything else, all of which were true, is already rigging the election. You have 3 liberal moderators during the debate. You won't talk about foreign policy at all. You had the FBI lie for you to suppress stories. You lied about and said the laptop was Russian disinfo. You spied on the Trump campaign and got caught. There are no consequences for anything. But you got to blame Trump too. He's the one that kept Christopher Wray as the head of the FBI. All these King and Spalding law firm guys, and boy, I got a deep story on that. It's up on Substack. Are running the FBI. And it's okay, why don't you just have BlackRock run the Treasury while you're at it? That's how stupid that is.
Just meld them together at this point. Put them under the same umbrella.
Well, it's almost like you had a conversation with Ali Alexander, and you felt frustrated. That's exactly what I would feel if I was talking to someone like, Barbara Honegger and Richard Gage. I'd be frustrated at the same time. And this is the reason why we can't have even discourse amongst each other regarding the most important topics in American consciousness happening even currently. But 9/11, I consider the biggest, precipitating factor in human history, because we are living under the ripple effects of 9/11 right now, even now, and forever in time, because it changed the whole paradigm of domestic issues and foreign policy issues forever. And millions of people are dead because of it. And nobody's held accountable because the United States is not part of the Roman statutes. That's the International Criminal Courts. So, and even we can't even prosecute even, the people that withheld information or hoarded information or even facilitated information, made up information. And we can't even prosecute those people because we have people on that side of the spectrum who are basically saying, hey, did you know a third building fell? Hey, did you know thermite? Did you know Judy Wood? Did you know all of this plays a part? And if I get this sometimes, why do you concentrate on them? Go up, look, we're fighting a war on 2 fronts. One is a war for information that we're trying to get declassified, and 2, and that's a worthy war, by the way.
Mhm.
Two is a time waster, and that is a war of disinformation. And God's sakes, I think Ryan and myself can name dozens and dozens of people on that front. And here's the real irony: is that
And we're losing that war.
the majority of those people will basically really believe that they're fighting against the state, not realizing that they're helping it.
Mhm.
And I sometimes, like, I don't have much hair, but I mean, I rip out whatever follicles I could find, and I just wonder if it's all worth it. But then, I run into people like you, Jacob, and those kids at Project Podcast for New American Century. Darren Harvey, Sean Russell. Yeah, they're worth it. Even if it's just a little bit left, yeah, they're worth it, because you know what? I have got to have faith that those guys like you and Reed and everybody else will reach a big audience in the future using the information we provide. And, maybe you could reach a big audience, hopefully in the future. I got to have faith in that, even though I'm a hopeless pessimist. But, I got to have faith.
Well,
Hopeless black-pilled pessimist.
Well, I was once called also, too, the Robert Smith of 9/11. I'll take
Like from The Cure? Yeah, I'll take that.
I'll take it.
I think it could all turn around in one day. Like, I just need to be on a big show and it's over.
You listen.
Like-
You had. I think you came close, and you basically this is years ago. You were on Eddie Bravo,
Hmm.
and I was like, God, he's so close to getting Joe Rogan, but it never got to that point because, you were basically wiped off the face of the viral world.
Yeah, and
And-
right after that, Eddie went flat Earth and discredited everything he'd ever done.
Right, and this is why we lose our.
Some black belt approached him in his gym trying to sell him this poison pill, and he took it, and that was it.
Yeah, and it doesn't help. All this stuff doesn't help. But you wonder why. Like, why do they believe in certain stuff?
Fucking awesome guy to hang out with, though,
I
I'll
bet
tell
he-
you.
I- I-
He knows a lot of stuff. He just took that poison pill, and it was like, man, all these things you're right on are going to disappear now.
But let me ask you: is it only because that the alternative is there's so much of these disinformation channels that they go, oh, you know what, this sounds right, and there's nothing else. Like, I'm non-existent. You're banned. Nelson,
I have a term for this. It's called the red pill overdose. And what happens is when somebody gets red pilled on too many topics too quickly, they become overly skeptical, and then they just start taking any alternative, right? So they're like, they learn about World War II and that thing. They learn about 9/11. Let's say they learn about the Gulf of Tonkin and Iran-Contra, a couple things in a row. And it's just like, man, they always lie to us. Then they start thinking, is the earth round? I don't know. Because they've been lied to by so many people and everything else. They just start questioning anything. But I'm like, you don't have to believe the earth is round. You can know the earth is round. It's supposed to be based on knowledge, not belief. A little trigonometry and you got it done. But I think they just start a streak of paranoia. And if you add that to marijuana, you end up believing, basically, or just disbelieving anything official. And so you just don't believe anything official. They reach that point. And that's what happens when you get red pilled too quickly.
yeah, it's true. I've actually seen it happen before. It's
It's
I
like-
don't even understand it. It's like a
Yeah,
meltdown.
I think, Jacob, when I had the conference earlier today, there was 4 other conspiracy theorists that were in the call. And I said, because they talked about the official narrative. We always hear this term, the official. I said, what is the official narrative to you? Right. Quotes. What is the official narrative to you? And generally, it's always that the official narrative of the government's purports is that 1, 2, and 7 were not controlled demolitions, and that there were 19 Islamic fundamentalists who hate our freedoms, who hijacked 4 planes and crashed them into the World Trade Center, Pentagon, and Shanksville. And I say, is that it? And they say, yeah. I said, well, that's really a microscopic part of the official reports. I mean, there's so much more. There's 14 chapters in the 9/11 Commission report. And as Ryan brought up before, the Joint House Inquiry report. Then you have the FBI Pent Bomb report, the Inspector General, the Office of Inspector General of the CIA and the FBI. There's a lot of reports here to go over, but they don't read any of this stuff. And so they'll basically watch like a film from Massimo Mazzucco, the Pearl Harbor film, or they'll watch Loose Change and then say, you see, I can get behind that because it goes against the official narrative, right? Anything, they'll believe anything, even just the most ludicrous theory in opposite, so they don't believe in the official narrative because it's been beaten into them that the official narrative is wrong. It's false.
And they won't read the 9/11 Commission report because Alex Jones told them it was useless. And then they don't even know there are other reports because Alex only talks about the 9/11 Commission report. So I don't think they even know there are other things to read. I love that one.
That's a good point. I wouldn't doubt that.
Something I wanted to show real quick.
Uh-oh.
Hey, do you want the little 4-minute film I made on the operators that got busted? I can send it to you, Jacob.
Yeah.
Like I think that's small enough to fit in Skype, maybe. So you can play that. I didn't know you could have clips and stuff on your stream thing. Let me see.
Oh,
yeah, I'll pull it in. I used to do these like 5-hour movies, and then I started making just like 4-minute movies and 5-minute movies. Say if I squish it down into this level, that they'll actually have enough attention span for Generation ADHD to do it. So let me grab that for you. Here's one. See if that fits in Skype. Yep, it is going through, and it's on your Skype.
Word.
You should be able to download that and play it. It's only 4 minutes, 11 seconds long. But like in that 4 minutes and 11 seconds, most truthers watching that are going, my God, I didn't know this. I didn't know people had acted. I didn't know they had names. I didn't know they got arrested. Did it. And ask yourself, why didn't you know that if you've been studying this for 5 or 6 years or 10 years, whatever it is, and how have you never come across this? Even people watching this now might not have seen what you're about to play. And you have to make movies. You can't just explain it and show them the documents. You gotta like jazz it up because that's the world we live in.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I'm like considered a bore. Someone from New Jersey once called me the McNeil Hour of 9/11 as well. And because McNeil, if you're not old enough, McNeil Hour was a very boring news show on PBS, but it was good. So I said,
Adam Fitzgerald is the Ben Stein of 9/11.
That's great. I'm sorry.
All right, I'm getting it uploaded now, so we'll have it here in just a minute. That's really funny, though.
Not as funny as Jackman, but I have my moments.
Jackman's hilarious.
Yeah, both of them are.
Flawless.
Think about
it. He was great in that trip we went on. Him and Reed, flawless. Just flawless.
Reed's Ventura is not bad either, but Jackman, man.
Yeah, Jackman.
It's not just doing the voices. He'll have a dialogue on the spot. That's what's more impressive to me.
He does the mannerisms too, like the body mannerisms.
Yeah. You gotta get in character.
Yeah. There's another guy we lost, Ventura. He dabbled into 9/11 a little bit.
Oh, I know. He went full kook.
He fell into the Jonestown juice.
See, if I could have reached him first, we could have set him straight. He would have said it. He would have done it on TV.
He was on, I think, Rosie's show or something. He's been on TV.
Remember when Rosie was going to have, like, E. Howard Griffin or somebody on, and then, boom, she got canceled. That was it. She was on The View, and she was going to have her guy talk about 9/11. I was like, well, at least he'll say a couple true things and a bunch of nonsense. Never happened.
Wow, really?
Yep. It was right after she announced she was going to do that they got rid of her.
Not surprising.
I think her and Trump just need to bang and get it over with.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it just, what would the baby look like,
A pig.
Pig? John Goodman. Yeah, I think the latest celebrity was Spike Lee, actually, and he was going to do something with Richard Gage of all people, and basically he was told not to commiserate with Richard Gage because Richard Gage now dabbles into the COVID-19 conspiracies.
Whatever. I'm trying to reach Mel Gibson. I think he'd listen.
That hey.
Can you imagine a picture of me and Mel Gibson shaking hands? It's like, it's on. He told him everything.
I never really thought of that. But I said, wow, here's it. Well, he might talk about those things that nobody wants to talk about. So,
I mean, he's done all but name them. So, I've seen plenty of interviews with him.
He'd do it.
Call people out.
Mel Gibson would do it.
I think, you know what? That's a good point. I think he would. You know, he's an anti-establishment guy anyway. I mean, yeah.
You get 8 beers and Mel Gibson, he'll say anything.
Just don't get him on the phone. Get that guy on the phone. Well, yeah. Wow, I never really thought of that. Mel Gibson. Oh, there we go. There's no sound on this?
So are you not getting it on your end?
No.
There's no sound. Yeah, you got to unmute the mic of the clip.
So.
Left corner.
It was unmuted on my end.
Hmm.
Let's see. Let's do this. Got it now?
No.
That sucks. There's no sound.
What's
well.
you're using for that?
So it's just through StreamYard. So there's a couple of other things I can try real quick. So
You'd have to do it like one of those little videos at the bottom, I think.
Yeah.
Or the top. There's like different ways to add clips on StreamYard, but yeah. It's a good clip. It's real short, and it's like, okay, did you know any of that or not? Because I got 4 hours and 56 minutes more stuff like this.
Let's see.
What is that from?
It's in Empire Unmasked.
Empire Unmasked. All right. That's
Mhm.
I was saying, wait a minute. There's only one film you've done that was really that long. That was Empire Unmasked.
Well, the Barry Weiss Woodshed was 7.5 hours.
7.5 hours.
Yeah, she said a lot of stupid stuff. So
Why 7? Where is that uploaded? Where is that uploaded?
I got it on the website. I'm gonna put it on Cozy on Wednesday. I'm gonna do Woodshed Wednesdays. I thought I'd start with that one. I think my Lincoln Woodshed is like about 7 hours, and then the Epstein Marathon is 11.5 hours. But that's a really complicated topic. It's just a bunch of interviews, you know.
Right, sure. 7.5 hours. Wow.
Barry Weiss is stupid cunt. I had a lot of stuff to
Barry Weiss.
respond to.
Reprobate. We can't disagree there. I can't stand her. I think she's, Ben Shapiro in drag.
Kamala Harris came out with some breaking news about the virus. You want to hear what she said?
Kamala Harris. Yeah, I heard. I didn't hear that, but I heard a recent. She gave some lecture, and she barely spoke legitimate English. So.
Well, she has a new revelation. Kamala Harris said, "Viruses are very small." Thank you for that information. Russia's a big country. Viruses are, well, you see, they're small because That's why you can't see them. They're too small.
I think if I ever saw her face to face, I'd say, "Did you know a third building fell?" That's what I'd tell her. That's what she reminds me of. That slogan. It's just a slogan. That's it. Nothing more.
She's vice president because she has a brown vagina. Do you see where those people were going around asking about different countries? We brought it up earlier. They went around and said, "Who's the vice president?" And some of them tried to bullshit their way through. They're like, "I know his face. I just can't say his name." Like, no, you don't.
You don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know who Kamala Harris is. I'm like, that's okay. I don't think Joe Biden knows who the vice president is either. First,
Well, he did. He gets a little credit. I mean, he did release the Operation Encore files last year. If there's any plus to his administration, which has been an unmitigated disaster, in other words.
well, it's not on purpose, but he's basically destroyed NATO. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Well, I'm looking back like on the lineage of like Democratic presidents like him, Obama. Obama was just awful. Biden, I think, in my opinion, was just awful. Clinton, he created NAFTA. I can't, and he rejected so many plans to kill Bin Laden. He's up there. But yeah, but the last two, wow, just unreal. Unreal.
You know, you could just say abomination faster.
Abomination. Yeah, look, you know, I always see this on
That's
Twitter.
why when Ben Shapiro says it, it's abomination.
He speaks real fast.
And it's something free markets.
What a little wiener.
Yeah, you know, I the hell with Obama. I want to talk about it. Anyway. So
all right, I got this video loaded up. So
okay.
All right, let's try it this way. I'll mute myself.
Aside from the mysterious elevator workers of the oddly chronically broken elevators and the Israeli movers contracted by Zim Shipping Company, itself partly Israeli state-owned, which broke a $50,000 lease in the World Trade Center to relocate to Virginia a week before 9/11, who else had suspicious access to the towers? In 2002, a simple case of fraud over fake IDs in Tennessee led to the arrest of 6 Middle Eastern men and revealed damning information about 9/11, about men claiming to have done work in the basement of the towers with fake passes. The key witness, herself an accomplice in the ID fraud, was killed a day before her trial date. Catherine Smith, a Department of Motor Vehicles employee, had been working with Khalid Otala from Jerusalem to provide Tennessee license, which do not require social security numbers, for 5 other men. The FBI, working on a tip, arrested Otala outside the DMV after he purchased the IDs from Smith. They had been monitoring Catherine Smith's house. She had also bought her car from Otala, one she would be found dead inside of later. The following group, Mohammed Fairs, Abdel Muhsin Hamad, Mostafa Abu Shahid, and Omar Kayata, were all arrested as they were also waiting outside for Otala to return from the DMV. The underlings told investors that Khalid, or Sakur Hamad, the cousin of Abdul Muhsin Hamad, could get the IDs. Oddly, the 2 ringleaders would be released while the underlings had the book thrown at them. Zakir Hamad, who had shared a residence with Otala Khalid, was arrested, and on his person he had a pass granting him entry into the 6 underground levels of World Trade Center 1. It was dated September 5th, 2001. Khalid Otala had also driven a truck from New York to Tennessee on 9/11. Hamad claimed that he had been doing work on the sprinkler systems for a couple of days, and that is why he had a pass. The problem with that, as Alan Hicks, the spokesperson of the Port Authority of New York, pointed out, the New York Port Authority handles its own work on such systems, and no one there had contracted Hamad. Hamad gave police a card for magic heating and plumbing. He also had a card at the time of his arrest. In court, his father produced a letter signed by Sergei Davydenko for Denko Mechanical, verifying both Sahira Mohammed and his cousin's employment. Davydenko told the New York Times Hamad had been working in the World Trade Center for him for a couple of days. The problem is, There was no Magic Heating and Plumbing or Denko Mechanical. There was an obsolete business license for Denko, and the address for the office was simply David Inco's residential address. Quite similar to the elevator operator's fiasco. One woman who may have been able to shed light on the entire matter was Catherine Smith, but the day before her trial, she had a car accident and died. Actually, her body had been burned inside her car, but the gas tank failed to ignite. Witnesses had seen Smith ablaze in her car, and investigators found gasoline in her clothing. FBI agent Susan Nash said Smith had been murdered. The unresolved questions about 9/11 and Smith's death had nothing outside of the circumstantial to do with the trial of her fake IDs, however. Ahmad was released on a $250,000 bail. What kind of truck driver or repairman has that kind of money? And Dotala, the middleman, was released hours after being sentenced. Why was Khalid released? And why wasn't there a follow-up investigation into Denko Mechanical?
Wow.
I wonder why I get banned. There's a lot to that story, but like I'm giving you all the names and stuff, so now you have shit to look up, you know?
Yeah, now you have to do the work.
Right, you got to do the work, and like I've done the work. I got the stuff from the district attorney, and her name was Barbara something or other at the time, about Sergio David Inco and David Connell, and how they had fake fire suppression letters and all this stuff, and went through the court cases and all that. And I'm like, what am I doing? No one's listening. Yeah, they just want to hear about thermite. But if your fire suppression systems don't work and you maximize the fire damage, you're assuring that a third of the building is about to crash through the rest of it. You're maximizing the damage by fire. And these guys could be all Al-Qaeda, let's say. Okay, well, that's also something we need to learn. They didn't care.
But some people did care. So, I mean, it wasn't a total loss. I mean, this information was learned by certain people, and yours included. But, like, there are people that don't have viral media, and that they are learning from videos that you make, Nelson and others as well. So you got to take that into effect too, as well.
Well, you and Nelson found me through my YouTube, and like it definitely was worth it in the beginning. But the censorship now is on another level, and that's why, like, if we don't fix the free speech issue, everything else we want to know about is not going to matter. There's somebody that knows all of it probably, and we don't know who that is, right? Because they just scoop them up or something. If we can't speak freely, it's just like George Washington said, we'll be silent and dumb and led to the slaughter like sheep if we don't keep free speech. And that's what predicates everything. Every single war is based on a lie, and all these lies could have been debunked, but we're not allowed to talk. That's the problem, and that's why all these alternative platforms, I would tell you, the government's not going to come in. There's not going to be any tinkering with Section 230. They're not going to have antitrust laws because it's the government. The only way around this is free market solutions. And they will be coming after Rumble, and they're going to come after Odyssey. They already are coming after Odyssey, right? They're in a giant case with the SEC with their cryptocurrency and yada, yada, right? They already went after Parler. Amazon just yanked their servers, right? Got banned on Google Pay and Apple Pay. I'm like, you got to have the whole package. You have to have a payment processor. You have to have your own servers. You cannot keep using their stuff. And that's why I'm like, Cozy TV, regardless of, some of the characters on there, maybe people agree with or don't. Look, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I'm not going to change anything I'm saying. But they have a payment processor, and they have a way to do live shows. Same with BitChute. It's like, look, They will play your videos. You can say literally anything. So we have to build these up, because if we don't build up the media, all the research and information is not going to matter.
So I was actually just finishing up a like 3-4 part series of videos just on free speech, and I covered Brandenburg v. Ohio and the Supreme Court setting the precedents for what constitutes incitement. Because before that, they could just it was the clear and present danger test, and basically say that you just owning a book is it's clear and present danger. There's certain criteria now that actually has to be met, and of course, most modern politicians, I think left and right, are not going to recognize a lot of these requirements to meet these standards, these legal standards that have been precedent since, see, Brandenburg v. Ohio was like 56. So, I mean, they're just changing the definitions of words directly in front of us and just gaslighting everyone from that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I went up to our spare bedroom the other day, and I was just digging around through things, and I had found that my wife had a dictionary from 1986.
Did you look up woman?
I sure did. That was the first thing I did. In fact, I'll post a picture of that later somewhere. Anywhere. So if you follow me, I'll post the definition of woman. Probably get in trouble for that. Whatever.
Well, Orwell does say in 1984 that words will have no meaning and definitions will change and will not know our own history. Maybe a prophet. I don't know what to tell you, but it sure seems like it. But especially with 9/11 too, is that the one thing I've noticed and learned throughout the years is that you're allowed to believe anything, but to know nothing. And there was this quote I always loved quoting from an E. Martin Schatz, who's a forensic psychologist and JFK researcher, who wrote a letter called on Belief versus Knowledge. And I love this quote because it really pertains to 9/11. It says, in short, it says, the American people have a problem, is that they're allowed to believe anything, but to know nothing. Because with knowledge, you can act on it. In other words, you could take knowledge and go to court and try to make a difference and hold people accountable. But you could believe whatever you want, but you can't do anything with it. And so you could believe that thermite was used. You could believe Judy Wood. You could believe Alex Jones, that the hijackers are alive, that the planes are holograms. But do you know it? And that's the difference. And that's why I tend to be very stale and not to over-sensationalize the information I'm giving. I'm not a filmmaker. Ryan's a filmmaker. Nelson's a filmmaker, and they get their points across better that way. I come in from a very different angle. It's just straight information. That's it. But people like a little bit of a shorter version of films or a descriptive documentary or series or something like that. But you're getting both with us. You're getting the whole gamut. But the problem is that too many people want to believe in a short narrative 9/11. I'll give you an example, right? About a couple of months ago, I was in a Zoom reading held by Ed Brotherton of We Are Change LA, and he invited two major 9/11 activists. They were called Jean Laratonda and Sandra Gelmy. She's affiliated with Architects and Engineers. And he said, just listen to him for 40 minutes about 9/11. And I tried as fast as I could. 45 minutes. And all I did was basically take from 1999 to 2001 and really put like all pre-9/11 intelligence, Israel, Saudi Arabia, all this stuff, right? At the first question I got was from Sandra Gelmy. And you know what she said to me? Can you simplify it? You know what I said? I just did.
Yeah.
That's what
I think that they're allowed to believe anything as long as they know nothing was a Mark Twain quote too.
Yeah, what was okay. I'm not familiar with that, but yeah, I mean, can you simplify it? My God, I wish it was not. I wish 9/11 was simplified. I wouldn't have spent 16 years pulling my hair out of my head. God's sakes. I mean, I wouldn't have read like 150 books, whatever's out there.
My
Now,
soundbite is 9/11 was a jointly conducted covert operation similar to Iran-Contra. The U.S., Israel, and the United States. That Al-Qaeda is real, but Al-Qaeda is not separate from intelligence agencies. That's my sort of foot in the door plug or whatever.
Well, I think that's a good point. Oh, it's much more effective than did you know a third building fell? But I mean, yeah, but people want a simplified version of 9/11, and I say I wish I could. I wish I could. Like, wait,
my most simple version is I just hit the bell. Ding! That's what happened again.
It took me a while to process that. Yeah, hit the bell. That's it. That's it. A sound, not even a word. A sound.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Right. That's horrifying. If that's where we're at, we're in trouble.
Is it a bell sound, a fart noise, or a knock on wood? I mean, that's how far in our own end zone we are.
Just gonna end up Pavloving everyone.
No, but Josh, it's not like we're being arrogant in this direction. Like we're so far ahead with this study is that.
Dude, it's not arrogant to reject people talking about holograms. It's just common sense. By the way, I'm sitting in the dark. I've been having migraines this morning, so if I look like Bruce Wayne, it's because I'm not that goth or whatever. I don't want any bright lights.
Oh no, no. Was it right behind the eye?
Yeah, right where my fingers are.
Jeez, that's what happened to me at the Libertarian Institute. That's what I get for drinking, Bartles and James at 3 a.m. I'm a weakling when it comes to drinking now, man. I can't do it anymore. But yeah, but that's the problem we're facing, Josh. Jacob, I'm sorry, is that we're running it almost at the end of our gamut, and it's not going to get any easier from this point forward. Not with the rate of disinformation that's out there with the media, and of course, no help on our end from the government, and there's very few of us left.
Yeah.
That's why we need people like you, young people like you, to basically take the mantle and try to spread the word around and be as truthful and honest as you can. And that's why I'll always come on your show and try to help you along the way and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and as well as Ryan's around, and myself and Nelson, and there's a few others around, and
Ed, yeah,
we'll do our best as we can. But we got to have hope in you.
Honestly, it was it got to a point where, I mean, the libertarian podcast movement is just flooded. But as Macho Man Randy Savage always says, that the cream always rises to the top. And I'm not to the top yet.
The cream rise. The cream will rise to the top. Oh, you read it, brother.
But honestly, like even if I had 10 viewers, I just legitimately wanted to just dogpile with information. And I don't care.
We all had 10 viewers.
Yeah.
That's how it starts with. I'll pass this Odyssey link around. I don't have Shui anymore, but we were at 6K on Telegram, and it's 19 and change thousand on BitChute. I'll put it over there with links and stuff. But like, it sucks. But I feel like we've got this court case with Twitter in October. We'll see what happens there. And there all are alternatives, and more people are getting banned, which is a bad and good thing because it makes it for a viable media somewhere else. And Odyssey is growing. All these alt sites are growing. I still plan on trying to get my YouTube back. I'm going to physically go to Ireland like I did last time and talk to someone in person because they won't talk to you online. We'll see what we can do. And if I ever get my channel back, I'm not doing videos on there. I'm just going to make one video that says, I'm over here now. I'm not allowed to speak freely because YouTube doesn't believe in free speech.
How
Guaranteed
bad
it.
is that?
absolutely
You
don't.
can't even get a real person on YouTube overnight. I mean, that's incredible.
They'll just cancel you. Like I've been on there 15 years, 81,000 followers on the newest channel or whatever, and they just no strikes, nothing, just got rid of me and won't even tell me why. Won't even say what videos violated anything. Just pip, you're gone, and you don't even get to
Private
argue
company,
about it.
They can do what they want.
They just they can't because we have a contract law that says they will not ban you unless you do A, B, C, D, like
Well, and not to mention it's
advocating violence or something like that, which is what hate speech is defined as. Hate speech is whatever the left doesn't like. Whatever speech they hate, that's hate speech. I mean, under the actual definition of hate speech, feminists are hate group. Every box you check,
Yeah.
prejudice toward a sexual group, yep, they hate men. Like all feminists are a hate group, but they're one that's allowed to talk. I got to bounce, so my head is killing me.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna
no,
tap
go
out
ahead.
here.
No worries, Ryan.
I hope you feel
Thank
better.
you so much for coming on. Later,
Anytime, dude. Thanks for having me on. See ya.
Oh yeah.
Take care,
Yeah.
Ryan.
Message you later, bro. Well, this has been a blast.
Oh, it's
honestly.
awesome. Thank you for having me. Really, thank you. And I'm always, I'll try always to help your show and promote it, and post, our videos on my end. Thank you very much, Jacob, for even having me on and stuff. So it's always fun to have to be talking with you.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, my biggest driving factor, honestly, is logic, reason, and evidence.
That's right.
It's how I make sense of my surroundings. So
right. And even if you don't grab that big following, you can always see you have your reputation intact, and that's more important than anything.
Well, and it kind of seems like right now I'm like skirting just right under radar. Except for a couple of videos. I did an interview with Spike Cohen that got nabbed immedigetely.
Right.
So,
you're getting there. People are noticing you. So, like I told people, in real life, like going on your show, and I'm getting feedback. Oh, weren't you on that show last time? I was like, yeah. So you are getting noticed by the average person out there. So it does take time, but
it takes a lot
never
of
change,
posting.
Jacob. Never change. Yeah, just stay straight and fly straight and always report the facts and never waver. So,
luckily I have people like you on my side, and you know what? That's all I need. So,
well, no, thank you very much, and any time for you, pal.
Of course, right back at you. So I think we'll wrap it up there. Anything you want to shout out?
No, I mean, for those who don't know, I'm Adam Fitzgerald, co-host of Darkened Hour, and if you Google my name and you put 9/11 after it, I come right up. And actually, if you go to Twitter and you put _Adam Fitzgerald, I have a pinned tweet where all my links to the websites are, where you can access files and documents on my WordPress. I have articles written on Medium, and of course, a large video database on YouTube. And my podcast, Darkened Hour, is on there too. So view at your leisure. Everything is free.
Yeah. And you can find me at risetoliberty.com/links. That pulls up everything that I have. So you just have full access to the website, Odyssey, Rumble. There's a few sites that I just don't use yet. They're backups, just in case. But once one platform goes down, I got something to, carry it over. So
good to have insurance, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a real pain in the ass setting everything up, though, man. It took me so long. But
did it? Yep.
It's what we got to do.
That's it.
So, because like I said, I'm gonna dogpile with all the information I can get my hands on. So
yeah, and that's all you could do, and just spread it around and far as wide, and make sure that your audience is informed for it and educated for it.
Exactly.
Right.
So, well, cool. Thanks, Adam. And
thank you, Jacob.
I'll be messaging you soon. And this is great.